Shark Tank.
Yep. Friday nights on ABC. We're back.
Okay, yeah. So what are some? All right, we got to talk about Ring. Is that the biggest regret that you have?
No. So Ring did a good job. Jamie came on, and I've got a rule when it comes to companies, and Ring violated this rule. And so it doesn't mean, even though this is my rule, it doesn't mean there's other companies who can't do well. So if a company is going to have to raise hundreds of millions of dollars in order to do tens of millions of dollars in revenue, I'm not going to invest. Now, that's not, in Silicon Valley, they like that kind of stuff. They like to buy growth, right? So you can raise a lot of money, and if you show a growth curve that's really good, like Ring did, then there's a good chance you can get acquired. And as it turns out, Ring got acquired by Amazon. But what ends up happening to the early investors is because you have to raise so much money, you keep on getting diluted down and down and down and down. And so if I would have made that Shark Tank investment of $700,000, I think it was, to get 10% of the company, by the time it got sold for $1 billion, I would have been lucky if I owned 1%, and probably not even that. Now, 1% of $1 billion is still 10 million. That's not bad, but it probably would have been less, because what happens is, because those companies are losing so much money, when the newer investors come on and they give you $100 million, they're not saying, Mark, just keep what you have. They're saying, I want better terms than you even gave your first investors. And so, when someone's giving you $100 million or $200 million, the terms get really onerous, and they aren't really friendly to the initial investors unless you keep on investing a lot of money in the hundreds of, like if I would have put up $100 million at that point in time, then I could have kept it and might have been good. But that's just not what I'm going to do with a Shark Tank company. So it's not a bad thing for him. It's a great thing. But at the same time, I don't feel like I missed anything.
Has there ever been somebody that's come on the show and you kind of sit there and you're like, why didn't I think of that? Or has there been a company that another shark took and you said, man, I should have invested in that one?
One I wish I invested in just because it was fun. That's spike ball. The guy came on and said, that looks fun. But he wanted to start all these big spike ball leagues. And I figured I'm just going to have to go out there and just hype spike ball, right? Which at the time, I didn't think it would be as much fun as it turned out to be. But the one that another shark did that I wish I had done is it's called Comfy Clothes, I think it's called, where there's just these huge, oversized, not even, I don't even know what you call it, like these big, oversized, comfy things you wear, right? Whatever. And so anyways, they're like $49 a piece, and they've sold millions. Barbara bought
Snuggle? Is that the Snuggle thing?
Yeah, like a snuggly type thing.
Big Snuggie.
Yeah, Snuggie. Yeah,
like a Snuggie type thing where it's just big and comfy. And I didn't even think twice about it. Barbara bought 25% of the company for like 50 or 75 grand. She has made, and she said this in an episode, she has made $37 million from it.
Wow.
That's one I would have, if I could rewind, I would take that one. It's crazy. And I love Barbara. I'm thrilled for her, but $37 million from less than $100 grand investment.
That's great.
Which also means that the dudes that came on with that company, if she made $37 million for 1/4 of the company, multiply that times 3, and that's what they made.
What do you look for if somebody's trying to pitch you on Shark Tank? Like, what are your key things that you look to say, okay, this is something that I'm interested in?
And you brought up the point, is it something that makes me think, why didn't I think of that? That's always the first thing, because I think I'm good at this stuff. And if there's something that somebody comes on and I'm like, wow, so that's first. If it's not one of those, then it's like, okay, is this somebody who's going to bust their ass and be a grind? Hustling all my life type person, right? And grinding all my life, just going. Because that's what it takes. Because these aren't companies that are at the top of the food chain killing it, right? They need us for a reason, and that's why they're there. And so if you're not willing to be a learner and grinding all the time, then it's not going to work. And what happens is, having done the show so long, you realize that there are going to be people who think that by getting a deal with the shark, I'm going to do all the work, right? Or whoever the shark is. It's got to be the exact opposite. And then, grinding, learning, selling, because there's never been a company in the history of companies that was ever successful without selling. And what happens is a lot of entrepreneurs think, well, I'll get somebody else to do the selling. And you can't do that. If you don't love your product enough to always want to make it available to people and let people know why it's great, it's not a good product. That's what I look for. Like I'll give you one example. I had Noel, this dude, and now you guys don't have naturals. You guys are missing upstairs. But
No. I got a season. I got a low season.
Everybody keeps doing this to us.
I still got hair.
Yeah, nah, I'm done. I'm done. I grow it here now.
But he's got a comb called it's a twisted up comb. You know, with the natural, you got to use the sponges and everything, right? I had to learn this stuff. It's not something I grew up with.
I'm like, how do you know that?
And so he made this little baby tennis racket, right? So it's just like put it in there, and on one side, because one side is pointy, so you can twist it up and everything. On the other side, it's like a little tennis racket, so you can, fluff it up and get it where you want it to look at. And Noel sells them online now, crushing it. I mean, he sold millions upon millions of dollars. It's one of my better investments. And now Noel is out there investing in other startup companies. And what the lesson from Noel Dirty at Twisted Up is that you can start with an idea that meets a need in your community, right? It doesn't have to be some big idea that you're selling to people you don't know. You don't have to go out there and raise money. All he did was take the money from his job, make some prototypes, and go to some barbershops that he knew and say, look, can you try this? And once they started asking for more and more and more and wanting to buy them and sell them to their customers, then he took that and just kept on building it. And now he's making, $1 million plus a year. I'm doing really well from it too. And so, it doesn't matter where you start or where you come from. If you've got an idea that can help people around you, you don't need to go out and raise money. You just got to go out and do it.
Sounds like a baby shark in the making.
Oh, he's past baby line now. He's real deal.
They say the average millionaire has 7 streams of income. But shout out to Ian. We have a stock show called Market Money. It's like the hottest stock show on. You should, if you're interested, you could come on that because you're a serious stock investor. But our co-host Ian Dunlap, he said something. He said actually somebody told him actually 24 streams. So what do you think about that? Because you hear that so much about the 7 streams of income, but then it's like 24 streams. That's a lot more than 7. So do you think that that's too far to diversify? If you're focused on wealth, you should focus on a few things, or like, what's your thoughts on that?
Focus on what you're good at and what you know. So always remember this in any investment. If you go to buy a stock, there's somebody selling it to you, right? They didn't just manufacture it. And they're not selling it because, oh, you know what? I like Mark. I'm going to sell him my stock. I know the price is going up, but I'm going to sell it to him because he's a good guy, right? It doesn't work like that. They're selling because they think it's going down or it's not going anywhere. They need the money. And so you always have to ask yourself, why is somebody on the other side of the deal doing what they're doing? And just being good at one thing is really hard. And so what I always tell people, if you can get really, really good at something, if you want to trade stocks, learn everything about the stocks you're trading, right? Don't just guess. If you want to get into cryptocurrency, learn everything you can. Once you have some success, then you can start peeling off some of that money that you've made and put it into other things and diversify your portfolio. But each thing that you add, don't do it unless you know what you're doing. And don't assume that somebody else, because they have money or because they call themselves a financial advisor, knows what they're doing. Always check your whole card. Always make sure you know what you're doing. Because go back to the internet bubble. There are a whole lot of people just paying any price, and they thought I was crazy. I went on CNBC and told people I had hedged, and every time Yahoo stock went up, they said, don't you feel really bad that you left this money on the table? And I'm like, no, I'm good. I sleep really good at night. And so don't get greedy, right? So when you talk about 7 or 24 different forms of income, really what it comes down to is, what are you good at? And stick to those things. And if there's, most people can't be good at more than one thing. It's hard, right? And I can have multiple streams of income because I've got enough cash where I can take different chances. If you're a millionaire, and you've got $1 million in cash, that's not going to last you your whole life. So you've got to treat it with a lot of respect and make sure you know exactly what you're doing. It's always a thrill when you hit that platform, right? When you say $1 million, man, I've made it. How good does that feel? And you get all excited. and everything. But you also have to be realistic and remember that, being a millionaire doesn't mean you can go out and blow that cash. It means you've got to protect it. And why would you invest in something just to get 7 different, streams of income if you're not sure? And if you divide $1 million up 7 ways, you're going to lose some of them, right? It's going to be hard to have, $150,000 all making you money and doing well. Some of it's going to crap out. And so you've got to be really careful.
My graduates from my school being Forbes, bag drop.
Bag drop.
A mic drop, bag drop.
Bag drop.